You can only learn so much by watching an auction, so let me show you what goes on behind the campaign so that you can be successful when you're buying or selling during an auction. If you're interested to know what goes on behind the scenes of an auction campaign, watch until the very end because I've got 9 auction campaigns that I'm going to be breaking down for you during this video. Hi everyone, I'm Ian and welcome to another auction breakdown. I'm stood outside number 6 Holcomb Street in Caroline Springs. We're about to go to auction with Remax Edge, and before I do that, I'm going to be breaking down 9 auction campaigns for you. If you're new here, do me a big favor and hit the subscribe button because in this channel I talk about all things real estate and auctions, from buyer and seller psychology to the current state of the market so that you can be successful on auction day. All right, let's head into the auction breakdown. Number 1, we've got 6 Calico Road in Wyndham, Vale. This one was with Reliance Manor Lakes. Now this one was a cracker of an auction. We had a lot of people through, probably around about 10 to 11 active bidders on the day. We had a lot of people bidding through an online bidding software, lots of people in person as well. So as soon as we started the auction, it was a rapid fire bidding. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 people. The iPad as well, which facilitates the bidding software, was going crazy. We had Varun on the iPad and he was calling out bids to me as they were coming. Because we had so many bidders, this one sold for an incredible result at $653,500. So once the property's on the market, there's a real push to get every single bid, and that's where you get those $500 bids from. Now the property was put on the market at $641,000. So even after we had all those bidders, by then we probably had about 7 or 8 people involved in the auction actively. And to give you a bit of context, the owner wanted a little bit more, but with that many active bidders at an auction and registered bidders, you've really got to put the property on the market early to get the best result from your auction. And pushing every single last buyer, we achieved an incredible result above reserve. Heading into the next auction, we have 62 Oreilly Road in Tarneit. Now this one was listed with Reliance Melton, and your listing agent is Rutuja. Now Rutu did a fantastic job running this. Unfortunately, we couldn't get enough buyers to the level where we could announce the property on the market. Now, this one passed in at, I think, $660,000. The auction did quite well. We had a couple of bidders pushing it up, but at the end of the day, not high enough to a point where we could announce the property on the market. Now, this one was previously under contract at $665,000, and so going into auction, there's a little bit of an expectation. Now that contract fell through and the owner put a little bit of renovations into it. So $665,000 was something they were happy to accept prior to that. And then all of a sudden, when you've put some renovations in, they want to make sure that they get their return on all of that investment in. So by the time it got to auction, they did a little bit of renovation. They're expecting closer to $690,000. Now keep in mind that the owner purchased this home in 2021. That's peak COVID time, by the way, at $640,000, and as of the 27th of October 2025, this one is now under contract at $675,000. So we did get to a decent level at the auction. Also the fact that the renovations they put in, yes, they may have put in about $25,000 to $30,000 worth of renovations, but that doesn't always translate to $25,000 to $30,000, a dollar for dollar, back when you go and sell back to the marketplace. So that's a really important lesson to learn, is whether or not it's worth going through those renovations, because renovations have to be doing very, very well and very economical for you to make sure that you get every single dollar back. So in this case, the owner had a contract at $665,000, put in about $30,000 worth of renovations, and at the end of the day came out with about an extra $10,000. So not the greatest return on investment, but at the end of the day, found the right buyer, owner happy to sell. And the next one was at 27 Palmerston Street in Melton. That one was also with Reliance Melton as well. I didn't have to do too much with this one here. This one sold before auction at $495,000. Now do remember, the guys also, because they had that gap in the calendar, well, they had another property where they were thinking, hey, because we've had this auction sold prior, there's another property that's currently private sale, and we might have a couple of bidders there or buyers that are looking to make offers. If we actually have enough people, we might actually do a last minute auction in this time slot. So there's a lot of different things at play here, but for 27 Palmerston Street, sold prior to auction, $495,000, and that's sold as an unconditional sale, so no contract, no cooling off period, no subject to finance, no subject to building and pest or any other conditions that people want to put in. The next auction here is 64 Henry Street in Melton, and that one is with Reliance Melton. Once again, we had 3 auctions all on the same day together. The listing agent for this one is Mancy Ray. So Mancy did a great job running this campaign. We actually had a buyer come through on the very first time bid at auction. Unfortunately, it wasn't a particularly popular auction. This property, out of my memory, was a bit of an interesting property because it's right off the main street of Melton, which gives it a lot of applications for both a residential home and also commercial uses as well. So around there's all sorts of property, cop station, there's all of behind it, all the shops there. So a lot of opportunity for somebody like a dentist, a doctor, or any kind of mixed commercial use to jump in there and turn that into a clinic. The owner wanting more around about that 950 range. Eventually, we did get the auction bidding up to around about $900,000, but as you can tell, there's still a little bit of a gap between what the owner wants and what bidding we achieved on the day. And so we used vendor bids up until 9:15, where we eventually passed the property in. Now that property is still on the market, listed at 910 to 950. So the auction was quite a while ago now, and you can see at that range, that $900,000 offer might be quite good at this stage. It's now been on the market for another 2 to 3 months since then. And so whether or not it's worth holding on to it, that's really something for the owners to consider. It's definitely something to keep in mind before you pass the property in. Your bid at auction, although it may be less than what you're after, but what does it cost to you to hold the property for another couple of months? The holding cost, the interest cost, whether that means that you miss out on opportunities because of that time, that's all something that you need to take into consideration. Make sure to paint out the picture for the owner, and at the end of the day, it's their decision on whether or not they want to move on and take the offer. The next auction is number 1 Carramar Avenue in Glen, Waverley. The listing agents for this is Ali Song and Fei Zheng. They ran a fantastic campaign. This one was actually the second time that we'll go into auction with this property. It's close to the centre of Glen, Waverley, where it's right next to the train station, and there's a lot of construction, quite a busy road through here. It's a home that has a bit of an appeal for development, although the home itself is quite nice. So it's on that cusp of needs a little bit of renovation. It's become a little bit dated, but also too good to knock down. So it's quite difficult to find a buyer for it. And also that Glen Waverley area, especially on the premium mark, we're talking 3 mil plus here. Made it quite difficult to find the right buyer. Particularly, you're dealing with savvy buyers here, so a lot of them keep their cards close to their chest. The first time we ran an auction wasn't too hot. We had the auction go to 2.95 million, passed the property in and negotiated a little bit above 3 mil. We had 2 buyers who were sort of keen, but this time round the owner had gone to auction again, and prior to auction we received an offer starting at 2.9, and I believe the girls actually did a really good job negotiating with the buyer to get them all the way to 3.2 million, where it sold one day before auction. Everything's all booked, ready to go for auction. I took an early finish to the day, but the coffee van came through. Everybody still had a bit of a chat around the home. Everybody expecting to come to auction, sort of all gathered around, but a fantastic outcome for the owner, especially second time round, finding a buyer right at the very last moment. So well done to the team there. Now the next auction, we're looking at number 22 Cowrie Street in Glen, Waverley. That is also with Lungi property here. Now this one had a very, very slow start to the auction. A very tough crowd again. Glen Waverley is quite a difficult area to run auctions, as much as the properties are very much worth it themselves, and the value very well speaks for itself. Again, dealing with savvy buyers. The auction started quite low and we had very slow bidding, which means that a couple of people put in a few bids here and there. Was a lot of work to just get the bidding going on. Now what I found is that there was actually quite a few people who put their bids forward, and once they'd reached still a very low price, I think they were going for a bargain here, but once they reached that and it's not going anywhere from here, they actually just left. So it left a really awkward negotiation situation with the highest bidder. Or lucky for us, we actually had a very good negotiation afterwards. So the property passed in at 1.499, so just $1,000 short of 1.5 million. And throughout the negotiation processes, the girls did a fantastic job. I wasn't a part of that negotiation much myself, because I had to duck off to the next auction very far onto the other side of the city. But very shortly after the auction, I received a very nice message, sold for $1.688. So $1,688,000, a fantastic outcome. That's another $188,000 from that negotiation process. So the girls did a fantastic job running that. That's that auction magic that we're talking about here. Everybody comes in, they're ready to buy, they make their best offer on the day, and the owner's happy to take it very close to their initial asking price, which we needed the competition to get there for. But I can tell you, owners are very happy with that result after seeing the auction slowing down and passing in just shy of 1.5 million. Now the next auction is number 3, Calypso Crescent in Point Cook. This one is with Jazz Real Estate, the listing agent, of course, Jazz Singh. Again, a fantastic auction. Now I was running late from the previous auction because driving from Glen, Waverley all the way to Point Cook is not a fun drive, especially with an auction going a little bit over time with Glen, Waverley. You've got to really drag it out a little bit here. I had a massive crowd waiting for me here. We ended up having 11 active bidders in this one. It was a crazy auction. The property is very well located within the Alamanda school zone, very close by, and probably one of the cheaper properties within there. So it attracted a lot of attention from home buyers and investors because they could see, hey, this one's a decently sized block, good sized property. It's okay. I think it was used for investment purpose. There's a little bit of love and attention that can be put into there. There's a lot of value to be had. Now, the buyer who bought this property, this is where you need to have a different strategy going into auction, because if you're dealing with 11 buyers, it's very different to if you're dealing with 1 or 2 stragglers who are kind of interested, kind of not. The highest bidder at this auction was a buyer who just kept on bidding. He did not seem phased at all the further we got into the next level and the next level. So for example, starting around about $700,000, it was on the market I think at $770, and then we're pacing along quite slowly to the point where we're cracking over $800,000. He didn't bat an eyelid going over $800,000, even to the point where we're getting to $850 and eventually sold for $853,000. So this guy just kept bidding, wasn't phased at all. He kept getting new bidders joining us last minute, first call, second call, third call. It was selling, and then another bid, a new bidder. It didn't matter for him. He kept strong, made very aggressive bids at the back end. So a new bidder joins in and he jumps in with another 10 grand, another 5 grand. It didn't matter that we were that far over because he's done the research, he knows the value of it, and he's happy to continue to bid. So very well run auction campaign by Jazz. A lot of people interested. A prime property, perfect for auctions. Really good result at the end of the day, and selling 80 plus grand above the owner's written reserve price. We had another auction at number 2 at 33 Deschamp Crescent in Rowville. That's with Area Specialist Nexus. Again, not much involvement for myself, but that one sold prior to auction as well, $950,000. Again, a very useful tool to have to negotiate with buyers. It's a really good way to put pressure on both the owners and the sellers to come meet in the middle. If you've got one clear buyer after a campaign that's designed to attract many, you've got to have that conversation to sell the property prior. In this case, selling before the auction went ahead, unconditional at $950,000. Fantastic result for the owner, agent, and also myself as well. Now the last auction of the day, number 29 Dolphin Crescent in Point Cook. This one was with Jazz Real Estate and lead agent, of course, Jazz Singh once again. This one, the owners had a very high expectation moving into this. Owners in this case was wanting to cover the holding costs of the property, including the stamp duty, interest, and all those kinds of things. Now, as soon as owners put that into the equation and start to make that how they value their property, it tends to mean that they're above what the market is willing to pay, particularly in Melbourne at the moment, where we've experienced more minimal growth for the property. If you start to factor in interest and stamp duty costs, especially some of these people are buying within the last three to 4 years, that's when the market absolutely peaked, and there clearly hasn't been that much growth for the time that the people have held the property for. Now the campaign ended up launching at a higher price, and that's kind of slowed down the property from there. We weren't able to get enough people through, but eventually coming down, we managed to attract 4 people to the auction. Jazz did a fantastic job working through all of the buyers on the day. It was a bit of a hectic auction where during the auction it started pouring down with rain. As soon as we get people going out and grabbing their umbrella. The sun's come out again, it's cleared away. I felt very bad for the videographer who's got all of his camera gear under the rain as well. But at the end of the day, fantastic result. We got the bidding. Now the owners, like I mentioned, their expectations are around about that 850 mark, but eventually during the auction they can see we've quoted at a range where it's attracted 4 bidders. It's clearly where the market is seeing value. They bought the property for $700,000 back in the day, I think in 2021, and it ended up selling at $690 on the day. Now the kicker for this one here is that the buyer who bought the place actually came on for the very first time on the day, bidding all the way up to $690. Now what ended up happening is that we were very close to the reserve price, and being just shy, we had an opportunity where the bidding stopped at $685, asked the buyers to increase their offer to $690 where we could announce the property on the market. And the reason that we do that is because on one hand we could pass the property in and the buyers would negotiate with us and the reserve price. But on the other hand, we've had 4 bidders in total. And so if we announce the property on the market, there's actually a really good opportunity to check if there's any other buyers in the crowd, and also if some of the buyers who've told us they're out actually want to come back in. So a very good value buy. The owners agreed to the strategy of announcing the property on the market if we were able to get just that extra bid from our highest bidder. And in this case, it turned out very good for the buyer. And this is why you still want to go to an auction as a buyer, because some of these opportunities come by. Owner bought it for $700, and then this buyer's come in and bought it $690,000. So there you have it. That's exclusive insight into 9 different auction campaigns. If you watched until the very end, you're an absolute legend. Not many people do. And please, if you like the breakdown, hit the like button and also subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.